Glad to see everybody here this morning. This week has been a trying week for me. I've had a long, hard week, all week. Actually, it started 2 weeks ago when I asked you I was going to preach. And then, sitting there listening to Doug preach, I was sitting there and the Lord said, I need you to preach. I said, okay. He said, you either do it that Saturday or the next. He said, I don't know which one Chris has got, but you're going to ask. And I said, all right. Well, Chris had that week, so I got this week. And every message till then has kind of led me to where I'm at right now. And I was sitting on the porch, me and Ashley was. Little man likes to sit out there in the mornings and rock in the rocking chair. And it was a pretty morning. I was sitting there and I had my Bible. And he said, just open your Bible. I said, okay, I can do that. Fell to the book of Job. And I said, well, no wonder I've been having such a hard time. I don't know if a lot of people know what the book of Job is about. The book of Job is about a hard time. Every message we've had has been about a hard time. Whether you're a Christian, whether you're not saved, whether you are kind of a Christian and you don't know whether you want to be saved anymore, wherever you're at in this walk. I said, well, God, I've kind of read over the book of Job. That's a hard book to read. I don't know if anybody's read it, but it's hard. It's hard. And I was talking to Ashley, and I told her, I said, so I guess I got to preach over Job. And she goes, well, good luck to you. You know, and me and her we don't argue. We don't have a hard time. You know, we pick at each other like normal people do. But every time we would pick this week, the devil would be like, y'all are arguing right now. Y'all are having a hard time. Look what I can do to you. And I kept telling myself, Lord, please don't make me like Job. I don't want you to let the devil attack me, which he does all the time. He does all of us. Because God, I think, allows him to see where we stand in this time. And because it's fixing to get to the point to where now you're either going to do what God asks you to do or you're not. And the people that you're not trying to help are not going to go with us. We're not going to touch those souls. We're not going to help bring those people out of the fire that are bound this morning. And I said, okay, I'm seeing the bigger picture. Then Wednesday night, I was sitting there Monday before Wednesday, and he showed me Samson. And then you started preaching on Samson. I thought, well, there's the next half of my sermon. In the book of Job, if you don't know, Job was a very righteous man. Didn't do anything wrong. Matter of fact, it says that he did everything according to what he was supposed to do. He gave sacrifices. He walked that line. He did what he could do for his children. He led them to be the Lord, to be a godly man. He was. It even says that the devil, or God and Satan had a conversation about him. It says, there was a day where the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, from where do you come? So Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro on the earth, and from walking back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, who fears God and shuns evil? So Satan answered the Lord and said, does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him, around his household, and around all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. So now stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your powers. Only do not lay a hand on his person. So Satan went out from his presence of the Lord. And I read that, and I said, there's a lot of us in here this morning that don't know that conversation that they have every day about us. Every morning we wake up, every day we close our eyes, every day we take a breath, every day we just walk down the road wherever we're going. There's a conversation going on about our souls, whether you're saved or you're not saved. We sit and we hold on to our anxiety, which I don't have a problem with anxiety, but I know people do. My mother does. I watch my daughter have a little bit of problem with anxiety. She's 9 years old. There's no reason to have it. In my eyes. It's real. People have it. People have depression. I've had depression. struggle with depression anymore, but when I was well overweight and sitting there doing what I wanted to do and not doing what God wanted me to do, I was in a state of depression. That's what that is. We've all been there in some form or fashion. We're all bound to something. There's a conversation every day that Satan's like, I've got them one step closer to where I want them. And God's like, no, you don't. You haven't really hurt them yet. Yeah, it may seem like it. You've lost all your family. If you've ever read the book of Job, you know that he lost every kid in one fell swoop. Gone, right off the face of the earth. Lost all of his livestock. Lost basically all of his money. Got touched with a little bit of sickness, but he never died. Never cursed God, but gave God praise. So my message this morning was, the title of it was, to be like Job in the world we live in. Or to be like Samson and tempt being close to that sin. Being close enough that I could say, I can do this. God still got me. He'll bring me back. And then you get bound at the very end of it. And you have a choice at the very end. Well, here I am, Lord. I touched it a little bit. I played with it a little bit instead of just walking that path that I was supposed to walk every day. Because we all struggle. There's no doubt in my mind that we don't all struggle. But we have to make that choice. Do I want to flirt with the sinful things of this world and be like the world? Or do I want to live a Christian life and follow what Jesus did? Because see, here's what I learned. And God told me this standing right there. He said, they didn't have me. They had God. But they didn't have me, Jesus. They had to do it the hard way. We got the easy way. It can't get no easier than knowing and believing that Jesus Christ is who we have to believe in and know that He died for our sins. And He carried that cross for not only me and everyone else, for everyone. For any sin that we're going to commit, we still have to recognize that we're committing those sins. And we have to ask about it and pray, Lord, forgive me of that sin that I have in my life so that I won't go to hell. But now that we're Christians and we're flirting with it, we're not helping the people that we're supposed to be touching. We're standing there letting them see us flirt with a little bit of it. We're flirting with it. We're touching it. We're poking it along with a stick saying, I ain't picked it up yet. I may be kicking it down the road like a tin can, but I'm following it. And that person that's standing there supposed to be watching you is going, well, if he can flirt with it, I can flirt with it. And then eventually it consumes you. It takes you over. And like you said this morning, you get trapped in the fire. Your hands are bound. You're thrown in there and there's no way out. But there is a way out. That fourth man that comes along and he says, guess what? I can take that off of you. I can kick that can plumb to the curb. I can take it away. I can make you not see it because you're going to need to walk this path over here to show these people behind you where you're supposed to be and where they're supposed to be. Walk this here. Walk this line. Yes, it's a hard road. It's not just a straight and narrow. Well, actually, it is a straight and narrow. It's not that windy road that has all the stuff standing there for you to see every step of the way. It's just a straight line that says if you walk this straight line and you keep these blinders on that I put around you to show you that there's nothing else there that you need to reach out and grab but me, everybody else is going to reach out and grab me and know that that's where I am. I didn't know how this was going to come in. Every time God amazes me how it falls back into together. Because I wrote a bunch. I may not even get to read it. It's basically just a summary of Job, of how all that time he went through it. And then he had these friends come along. And these friends told him, oh, you did something. When nobody was watching, you did something. And all your righteousness and all this stuff that you're showing everybody else that you didn't do, that you're a godly man, that you didn't sin, but you did something. I know, I'm your friend. And I've got good friends. My friends don't do that, thank God. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Josh. But I guarantee you if I'm doing something wrong, they'd tell me. But there are days where I'm walking along and I do something. Nobody knows but me and God. And I have to take accountability for that. Because if I don't take accountability for that, eventually it starts to build up. And then it starts to show. And then I start sitting back there, not coming up here anymore. Not walking up here before every service saying, God, I'm here to stir the waters no matter what you have in my life. I don't care how hard my day's been. I don't care how hard my time on the earth is going to be. I'm here to show you that I want you to lead me and guide me and put me in the position to help someone else who's sitting back there that can't do it for themselves. Make me that example. Make me that person that I'm supposed to be, so the person that came in this morning, like my cousin William and his wife, that they know that that's my cousin up there preaching this morning. I want to live like he does. I want what he has. I want to make a decision in my life because I see what they're making. I see and it's not about the blessings, because I'm truly blessed. I'm more blessed than I can ever be. I will never not be blessed in my life to know that I have a wife and kids, and that's all that matters to me, is that I lead them to where they're supposed to be. I could care less about the cars I have, about the house I have. I'm blessed to know that my grandfather's sitting here this morning, who I know if he was to die anytime, I know where he's going. I'm blessed to know that he lived a life that I could follow, because it's becoming to get to that point now to where us young kids, well, I used to be young, are now the adults. We all talk about it, and it's going to get a little hard here. And this is what bothered me. And I'm not going to apologize. I'm not going to do that. It comes to a point to where us, my age, the next generation that we've all been told about, are dropping the ball sometimes. A few of us aren't. I still drop the ball sometimes. When you got up here and preached and said that it was on the mountaintop, and I've been standing on that mountaintop, God, I'm doing what you want me to do. I'm where you want me to be. Then I stop. I'm comfortable right where I'm at on the mountaintop. I didn't continue to climb to the next stage of the mountain, because the mountain never stops. We may come to a plateau, but God always adds another level. It doesn't make me a better Christian than you. It doesn't make me any less of a Christian than you. But it makes me know that I have to continue to climb up that mountain in order to help somebody else to start their climb up the mountain. So my generation is sitting back and complaining, man, I wish we had those services. Man, I wish people would get in. Where you at? Where you at? I was in the same boat. I was the same person, sitting back there listening to someone else tell me the same exact thing. Getting mad like my dad did one time. He got his toes stepped on and thought, well, I ain't going back down there. He stepped all over me. If I'm stepping on your toes, you need to fix it. I'm a firm believer that if Doug steps on my toes, I need to fix something in me. Doug doesn't need to change what he's doing. So this morning, are you going to be a Job? Are you going to praise God in the storm? Are you going to live your life to the point to where everybody behind you sees where you're at and is continuing to make that climb? Or are you going to stop and be like, I've had enough. I'm where I need to be. I'm comfortable where I'm at. It goes back to what Mark said about a thermostat. Is the temperature just right, or does it need to get a little hotter? Because I enjoy it getting a little hotter on me sometimes. Sometimes I thank God, Lord, back it off just a hair because I don't want to overstep anything. But then it's like, hey, if nobody else is going to help you stoke the fire is going to have to be stoked one way or the other. This completely went off rails from where I was supposed to be. But for my generation, sitting back, not saying and complaining, and nothing's going right, nothing's happening. Okay, I understand that we have hard times in our lives. We all do. Every one of us. But here's what God's trying to say. Are you going to be Job this morning and make a decision that I'm going to praise you no matter what? Whether I lose a family to cancer, a family member to cancer, whether I lose them to drugs, whether I lose not myself but my children that don't want to believe in God, don't want to be around me anymore. Am I going to stop believing and not doing what you asked me to do because it's getting hard? Or are you going to be like, you know what, God? You could take everything away from me. You could take my wife, my kids, but I know that you're still worth it to me. Because I'll tell you right now, if you're living everything for God, your wife and kids aren't going nowhere. And you may not be doing nothing wrong. And I'm not saying that anybody in here is doing something wrong because they're not getting along with their spouse, they're not getting along with their kids, they've got family members that are on drugs. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that this morning God said, are you going to be where you're supposed to be? Not flirting with the things of this world, being different than this world. Stop complaining where you're at in this building and stand up and grab a hold of what's been here the whole time. Because I had to come and look at myself in the mirror and say, you know what, Bubba? You always wanted to be a big guy, and I am a big guy. I was a lot bigger. But I had to look at myself. You want to be tough. You want to be that guy who ain't afraid to speak his mind. And I made a decision I was going to be that guy many years ago. No one's going to run over me. I may take my lickings and keep going. But I have to admit it sometimes to myself, I'm my biggest enemy. I'm the guy who stands in my way. I'm the guy who stands in the way of doing what God wants me to do. I'm the guy who makes a decision and says, it ain't worth it. But now, when I told you last night, I said, growing up, I made a lot of decisions in my life. Did a lot of things. Said I didn't lie, but I did lie. Told my mom we'd be at a party somewhere, or I'd be at a friend's house, and we'd be drinking or whatever we was doing, and I'd be standing there and my phone ring. I'd reach my pocket. Well, before I even answered, I always set it down. Because I knew my mother was going to ask me, what are you doing? Nothing. You drinking? Well, I wasn't drinking because the beer was sitting on the table. That's my mind. That's how I'm not lying to her. So you ain't drinking. No, ma'am. I ain't doing nothing, standing here talking to you on the phone. Where you at? I stayed at the same place all the time. I didn't run around a whole lot. I stayed where I was. But there was moments to where I justified the things I was saying and doing. You can't do that with God. Job sat that whole time thanking God. I still give you praise, God, no matter what you've done to me, no matter how, I don't know why you're doing this to me. I thought I was doing everything I was supposed to do. Why is this happening to me now? But I'm not going to question you because I'm going to continue to still give you praise. And then all of a sudden those friends come in. What'd you do? Then he starts to think, like Samson, he starts flirting with that idea of, well, did I do something wrong? Did I get too close? Am I getting too close to something? And God has to come in and say, son, I am who I am. I do things for a reason. I've never let anything happen. I'll give it back to you. Because he chose to stay where he was, Job did, and continue to follow God. God said, I'm going to give you everything back plus, was it sevenfold or more? So in all that, with my generation sitting back and complaining, God said this morning, choose to be what you are. To step out and let's take this to the next level. Let's not let something be in the way of us and give us an excuse to sit back and say, you know what, God, my kids are in my lap. I just don't feel like going up there right now. I got a headache. Or, woe is me, I lost my dog. My football team lost. You know, if we beat Alabama, I expect to see Ronnie up here regardless. I might have to drag him, but I expect to see him up here. But one thing I can say about it is Ronnie's not going to let that interfere in anything in his life. Because I can see it in Ronnie that he's made a choice to say, you know what, God, whatever is going on, because they've got a lot going on. Poor Ronnie is my modern day Job. I seen Ronnie when I read this. He gave his life to God, and it's like, let's see what I can do to him. But you know what I can say? Since him and Tasha have been, since he's gotten to church and since Tasha's come back to church, they've never stopped. They keep looking, keep trying, they keep walking that line. They keep carrying themselves and trying to inspire other people to say, you know what, God, yeah, I'm having a hard time. I got a lot going on, but you're still the reason. You're still the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing. I also made that choice. I'm not going to stop what I'm doing because growing up into this church, I always thought that I had a relationship with Christ, and I didn't. I did it because everybody in here said that we had to. And I seen everybody else doing it, and I thought that I'd had it, but I didn't. Until you realize and you say to yourself, God, I'm ready. I want to know this real person that you're talking about, this relationship that you have with everybody else that I see. This feeling of excitement, this feeling of love, this feeling of not being alone, this feeling of whatever it is in my life that needs to go away, Lord Jesus, I pray that you grab a hold of him. And he did. And when he did, it ain't went back. And I'm not going back. I've said that every time I preach. I will continue to preach the word of Jesus till the day I die. Till the day the Lord comes back, I'm going to continue to preach. I don't care if they arrest me. I don't care if they tell me they're going to kill me. I don't care. I told Ronnie one day, I said, they may get on to me here at work about preaching, but I'm just going to tell them to get over it. I said, they may fire me. I have no problem losing my job over telling somebody about the Lord. And if you don't like it, you can get over it. That's what I tell them. Just like this morning, I want my generation to take it to the next level. I want my generation to be like, all right, Lord, I'm throwing it all to the side. I'm laying everything else down that I have in my life because I'm making that decision again this morning myself. This ain't just for all of y'all. I'm involved as well. Doesn't mean that we're wrong. It's just the Lord saying it's time to stop playing. It's time to stop saying that here we are. We're waiting on you. I'm waiting on you, Lord. Well, we're waiting on him. He's waiting on us to be like, hey, guess what? It's time to get up and walk up here. Or get up and do something to show these people that are sitting here, that you want to touch, that you want to have everything that they want. I'm going to do it for them, and I'm going to do it for myself, and I'm going to do it for my family. Because we have so many people that sit here Sunday after Sunday and Wednesday after Wednesday. They just come and sit and never realize that, well, they talk like they're really good Christians, but I don't ever see them coming up there. And it's not about coming up here. It's not. But sometimes it is. Sometimes God's like, you know what? If you won't move, why does that person need to move? They're not getting anything from sitting back here because they see you sitting back here doing something else. They're not getting any closer either. It's like you keep scooting back. God said there's no more scooting back anymore. He said, I told you last night, I'm hoping this all ties together and it comes to an end, because all this anxiety, this fear that we all have is a simple fix. We're always going to have it, but we always got to lean on God to say, God, I need it every day for you to help me to get over this so I can help someone else to get over it. Help me to keep walking forward and not going back. Don't look at the old me, always to the new me. To follow the footsteps in the sand that keep leading us down that trail that goes straight. Because if you ever look to the left or right and you see something you like, you're going to do like Samson and think, I can go touch that just a little bit. Because Samson had the power. Like you preached the other night, Samson had all the power in the world. And then he lied. Out of all the things he's telling them, nah, you just tie my hands up. Okay. The Lord says, now you're getting a little closer there, Samson. And then eventually what does he do? He lets the Satan get a hold of him and say, you cut my hair. And then it really takes it away from him. But she ain't done. You're laying in the devil's lap, telling her all this stuff, and it keeps happening, but you ain't seeing that it keeps happening, and you keep sharing the stuff that you know is not right. You keep flirting with it, saying, I'll say this. If I tell you that I don't like clowns, and a clown shows up, and you're the only one that knows that, who should I blame? But he didn't. He kept saying, I love this woman. This woman's what I want. She's having fun with me right now. I'm just toying with her. She's toying with me. Well, let's see if she really loves me. You just cut this hair off. And that's when it really gets to work. Well, then she does it. And it's like he just, in his mind, he thinks, well, there I am. Then the Lord's like, hey, I told you. If you told that secret, I was going to take it from you. Amen. So this morning, God's saying, stop telling these secrets. Stop flirting with all this stuff and just depend on me and walk with me and lay down all this stuff that you have that you're holding on that's keeping you back there and not up here. Because somebody sitting here this morning is watching you individually. They're watching me right now, even though I'm standing up here. If I was back there, they'd still watch me. I guarantee you, where I've been coming up here for so long, if I was to stay back there, somebody'd say, man, something's wrong with him. I didn't realize that when I was younger, when people said that, but it's true. The person that never misses church, that never not gets up and worships, if they're not there one night, unless they're deathly sick or on vacation, first thing in your mind is, man, what'd they do? I bet they did something. Then you turn into Job's friends. I bet they did something. They did something that caused them to not have to go back up there, and they don't know what to do with themselves. Well, I'm just here to tell you, if I do something I ain't supposed to be up here, I'm going to come up here and get help for it every time. I'm going to fall on my knees at home and pray, God, I need this. I need this, God. I need you to help me right now. I might not be at church right now because it's not a church night, but God, I carry you with me every day, because not only having it here, but you got to have it outside of here. You got to have it at home. You got to have it in your car, at your work. It's everywhere we go, we got to have this. So this morning, Jesus is here with us. God's here with us. And they're not playing games anymore. I don't know why that turned into what it was, because that wasn't supposed to be what it was. But standing right there this morning, God said it's time to tell your generation. Because now, the older ones, And I hate to say that, y'all. I know y'all don't like to be called old. But I'm 35 years old. I ain't getting no younger. There's mornings I wake up and I'm like, Lord, I'm 35 years old. I got gray hair on my beard. I remember when I didn't have hair. I remember when I couldn't grow hair. And now I can grow a full beard and I'm like, what am I doing? I sat back there. I was sitting back there all them years watching and learning and let time fly by. All that time I could have been doing more for what God wanted me to do because I made a decision that why do I need to get up? I don't have to go up there. I don't want to go up there. Every generation's done that. And then we come back to this same message where God's like, it's time. I keep preaching it. I keep telling. I used Brother Cunningham. Then I used his son. Then I used Chris. I've used other people to say that it's time for the generations to start stepping up. Because I remember as a kid when that was preached. This generation's dropping the ball. You're going to let it slip by. Next thing you know, you blink and it's 10 years down the road. You're graduating high school and you're thinking, man, now I'm going into the next generation. Then you graduate and you start having kids. You get married and then have kids. Well, either way. But you look at yourself and you're like, where did I go wrong? Why am I where I'm at now? Why have I not been doing this to save and to help other people? So this morning, God said, it's time. It's time to make this decision in life to where you stop playing these games. Stop thinking that every week you come to church and you have a little bit of God move and His Spirit moves and that's what's going to get you through to the next week. God said, no, you have to take what's in here every day and take it out of here with you every day and build it every day, even at your home, in your car, so that your family at home who's not coming or your family that doesn't even think about God sees it on you. People that you work with see it on you. They know it on you. They say, there is something different in that person's life, and I want to know what it is. I want to know what makes them different. Why is that big, tall, bearded tattoo man so happy and so full of life? And something's different. I don't cuss. I don't do any of that stuff. I've had people at the prison say, you don't ever cuss. I'm like, I don't have a reason to cuss. When He came into my life, I was never a big cusser anyways, but when Jesus came into my life, He told me a long time ago, He said, there's things you can do and say that are not pleasing to me. Let me use your mouth and your tongue to say pleasing things. And there's sometimes I catch myself. I've had to walk a long road about things I used to say because I could tell you, I could snap off with some things like that. I was quick at it. Every once in a while, I still have to bite my tongue, like you said. And I have to tell myself, no, you're hanging around these people that are doing this, but you're not letting me lead you to lead them. So this morning, God says, it's time. Again, my favorite saying, put up or shut up. Come get it if you want it. Because guess what? There is no more. The world's coming to an end eventually. Our time on this earth is going to eventually stop. If you're not watching what's going on in this world, I know we hear it all the time, but my goodness, when you can't decide if you're a man or a woman, or you can't decide what you're supposed to do in life because you may want to be a cat tomorrow, there's a lot going on in this world that we need to get some figuring out to do because I can't handle it. I watch my kids go to school, and when Peyton tells me, hey, there's a kid there that thinks they're a cat. Why? I've played as a dog before, but I never thought I was going to be a dog. I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm being serious. Like, what is wrong with the people that we have raising our children? And I'm not talking about the school teachers and nothing like that. I'm talking about with the people that are on TV that are saying this is what we're allowed to do. When I was growing up, I didn't hear none of that stuff. And I know I ain't that old. Within the last 10 years, this world is, I don't even know how to describe it. When you get offended by something that's, like I spoke one time, I said, you can't say Jesus' name without somebody saying you're saying a hate crime. Because Jesus is the worst thing you could tell anybody. Why do you want to throw Jesus on me? Why is it always about Jesus? Well, what's the difference with any other religion? Why is it all these other religions have freedom but we don't? If you can't see what the world's coming to and where we're going and how hard it's fixing to get, and why God said that this morning is time to figure out what side you're going to take up. Because if you can't do it in here, you ain't going to do it out there. If you can't do it at home in front of your wife and kids or when you're by yourself, you're not going to do it in here. Everywhere you go, you got to be able to do it. I don't like preaching hard. This is the worst time I've ever had. But I can tell you one thing. When I walked up here and the words started coming out, I felt it lift off of me. All that hard week I've had, I don't have that right now. I don't feel that pain anymore. I don't feel that burden anymore. I don't feel that weight no more because now it's put out there for you to make a decision this morning. And it's not just my generation. It's mostly my generation because we're it. No offense. If you look around, my generation's about the ones that take up anymore. The older ones are starting to move on. We've got a lot of young kids coming up right now that they don't know what they want to do in life. They don't know what they want to be in life. There's some sitting in here that don't know what they want to do in life and what they want to be in life. They don't know if they want to know if Jesus is real. They may come up here and feel it, but that don't mean they're taking it with them. Because there's a lot of times, like Doug says and Chris says, everybody's up here. There's a lot of people up here, but then you look and you think there's a lot of people and it's just the kids and a handful of us adults. And the rest are sitting back there wondering, man, I don't know why them kids aren't getting it. You're not getting it. You're sitting back there saying, why are they not getting it when you're not getting it yourself? You're saying that, well, it ain't that hard. Well, it is that hard. I was a kid. I was a teenager who had friends in this church that I never, and I don't mean this in any way, but there's times in my life I didn't feel accepted because I was loud and didn't care what I said. I found other friends that accepted me for who I was, not because they didn't. It's because I just felt like I was left out about a lot of things, and I took a different trail, a different path that they didn't take. But they also took their own path that led them to some things that they can share with people too, and led them back to here the same way I've been led back to here. There's a reason we all come back to here. And I'm not just talking about Mooneyham Church of God, but I'm talking in general, this community, for some reason, we've all had a chance to leave. I'm an adult. I could pack up right now and leave and drive down the road. Tell mom and dad I'll see them when I see them. I could do that. All my friends in here could do that. But for some reason, we're still here trying to reach this community, trying to touch these people, because you know what? This is where God put us. This is where God said, you're not done here yet. I'm not ready for you to go yet. Me and Justin had a conversation once about how for some reason he just had to come back here. Did you not tell me that? I have to go back to Mooneyham. And he went to college. He went on. He explored some things while he was in college. Not bad things. I'm not meaning that, but with God. But he told me, God brought me back here for some reason. I can't get away from it. Not to say that God don't call him somewhere tomorrow or me. I don't know. But there's something going on to where now God's like, look, I'm tired of talking to you people. I'm tired of saying that it's time, and you keep sitting back there not doing it. We're never going to get anywhere. We hear the same exact words all the time. And now it feels like I'm rambling, but God said, no, you're not. You're saying what needs to be said because there's a time where either you come get it or you sit there and watch these kids make wrong decisions in their lives. These young adults who are younger, they're barely in their 20s, not married yet, or just barely married. Not talking about Clay and Whitney, but people that are younger than them that have hard times. Because I'm telling you, anybody who's married in here knows how hard it is the first few years of marriage. Along with Ethan. I love Ethan. I can honestly say Ethan's sitting here this morning not just because of me, but because of my impact on his life. That'll be my one jewel in heaven, hopefully. If Ethan stays the trail, I believe it. And I believe he will. But he's also, I know, having a hard time because his wife's not sitting with him because she's had a hard time. But I guarantee you he still prays for her. And he's still trying to do the things to help get her here as well as anybody else. And it's time, church. It's time for my generation, my age group, to be like, look, I'm going to do this because I can't miss it no more. I can't miss it to where these people, because once you're gone, if we don't have anybody else to get up here and say anything, because you're doing a great job. You do everything God tells you to do. But once it stops, then what? I don't know if it's me. I'm not saying it's me. I don't know who God's going to put in here. But I can tell you one thing. I'm going to keep doing what God asked me to do. I'm going to keep getting up here and saying the hard things because I ain't got a problem with it. You can throw a rock at me after church. I'm a big boy. I can take it. You can not talk to me. I'm a big boy. I can take it. My wife and kids don't talk to me sometimes. It is what it is. I don't care. What I tell you, get over it. I wouldn't tell you the truth if you didn't want to hear it. Because I have the truth told to me a lot. Sitting on my porch when God made me open this Bible, and He said, look, that's you. You're flirting with things. And I've been doing this, coming up front and praying, coming up front and teaching and preaching and doing what God, praying for people. But I still had moments to where I was flirting with things. When you got up there and said that about staying on the mountaintop, yeah. I've been on the mountaintop. I've been staying on the mountaintop, but I've also stopped climbing the mountain. So I don't know where to go with this. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, God said that Whitney can find a song if she wants to find one. And hopefully people decide to say, you know what, Lord? I'm ready for it. I'm ready to grab that bull by the horns and take a ride with it. I'm ready to see where this journey goes and how many people I can change. See if I can. We've got the fire. We've had the fire. We've had the fire since we got it back. We had it before revival, but the revival didn't stop anything. It actually grew a little bit. It's kind of tampered off, but it's still there. There's supposed to be a revival every day you open your eyes. You're supposed to be revived every day. You're supposed to have that fire stoked every day. So wherever you're at in this building today, I want you to think about it. Somebody that's been sitting next to you, or somebody that you love, somebody that you care about enough that you want in this church, or just to be saved in general. Put them on your mind and think, God, am I doing everything that I'm supposed to do to help this person to be here? Am I doing everything that person will want to come and give their life to God? Or am I doing everything that they are at home and I can go talk to them, and God, that you led me to help them to find Christ? This morning, God said, think about it. To look next to you and think about the people that were sitting here that aren't sitting here. That we all talk about how we wish they were back. We all talk about how we wish and we miss this person. When I come in and I sit in that seat, my grandmother and my grandfather sit in that seat. I miss them. I miss my grandmother. I wish my kids could have met them. My granny had the most faith I could have ever asked for in life. She had more faith anyway. Even with no legs, she would come up here and try her best. I told Dad before, I said, if she could have got down the floor and run on her nub, she would have. I honestly believe that. But I can tell you what, if she couldn't make it, it's because she was too sick to get out of bed. But if she could make it, she would have been here. And she had a hunger and a love for everybody that was here. She prayed. I remember coming in a couple times as a teenager before she passed away, and she'd just be praying. For whatever reason, I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, but at that time, I'm like, why is she always doing that? Why is she always saying it? She was praying for her sons, praying for her daughters. My Uncle Bobby, before he died, about 2 years before he died, he got saved. Never would have thought that in my life. And that's bad to say, but I never would have thought that. Standing up there, me and Ethan in the room with him, just me and Ethan, talk to him, tell him how much we loved him, and he could talk to us. I told him, I said, you make sure you tell Granny and Paul how much I miss them. And you give them a big hug for me and tell them I love them. And Ethan said the same thing, both of us all blubbering right there. But you know what Uncle Bob said? He said, well, I'm going to. He said, after I talk to Jesus. Because you know what? That was what it's worth. That's what it means. That's what it's for. Yeah, we want to see the ones we love, but we want to see Jesus. And for him to say, I'm going to see my Jesus, means a lot. Shows that my dad, all them times he went and talked to him, all them times he prayed for him, all them times he witnessed to him, that it's paid off. A part of him did something in this generation. All the times you prayed for your brother, Bobby, he's doing the same thing. We all have those people in our lives that we're prayed for and we're seeking. Some make it, some don't. That's just a hard truth about life. Some will never make that decision. But God said, look around and quit talking about how you miss people being here, how you miss how it used to be, and make a decision this morning to say, you know what, God? I'm ready to be the solution for whatever problem you put. I want you to lead me to be a solution for something, to be the answer for something with your help. Because only with you can I be the answer, because Jesus is the answer. We've reached that point. So whoever's supposed to sing can sing, and if you got something to add it. That's all I know. But God said this morning, it's up to you. Nobody comes, nobody comes.